Yo, guys, Urb'n Barz brings you the best UK reactions to rap, hip hop, and urban music from all around the world. And guys, here at Urb'n Barz, we normally talk about music, hip hop, urban music, this, that, and everything else. But yesterday, I spent a full day at my friend's recording studios, people, and I came home to seeing visions and visuals of mob rule. So basically, what happened was there was the murder that we all know about of three very young schoolgirls in Southport a few days ago, and there's been a lot of uproar and furore about that. And this weekend, there were protests from both anti immigration and anti fascists. And some of these protests absolutely collided. So you had the anti immigration against the anti fascist, and the police were slap bang in the middle. So I'm going to talk about not so much about the who's and whys and wherefores of who's protesting and who's not, and what happened yesterday with some of the scenes that have been portrayed and put out throughout the media. So on whatever channel you've been watching, you've been seeing a lot of the imagery with the looting and things like that throughout the media. So I do not agree in violence. I do not agree in looting. I do not agree in anything which is or termed to be illegal. Not really. What I'm here to talk about is basically the upshot of what I heard on the news yesterday. So, for instance, you see the picture here with, and I think this was the anti-immigration people, and they were being held at bay by the police here. And I'm not sure if down the line we had the anti-fascist lot. I think they're called the anti-fascist people. But this is the picture we can see here in the news. But what I'm more concerned about here at Urb'n Barz, guys, is the implications of what I heard on the news reports. So basically, I've called this mob rule, and according to the news reports, people, I've heard that Keir Starmer and the Labour Party are empowering the police here in the UK, and they're giving them permission to use any means necessary to quell and to control the disorder. So, carrying on from the news report, they said this includes the justice system and the court system, where those people who have been or who will be arrested at this weekend's protests will be fast tracked through the judicial system. And they've called up and called out extra prosecutors. They've all been brought in this weekend to sit, and courts have been ready for the cases to be heard. And the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, and these were her exact words, she said that anyone involved will pay the price. So here at Urb'n Barz, I'm just saying to you guys, and I'd just love your comments down here in the comments section. What are your viewpoints on this? So, for instance, yes, there's been trouble and disorder at the weekend, looting, and definitely do not agree with that at all. But are we looking, or have we not looked at the wider picture of giving police sweeping powers to basically quell and to arrest and to detain protesters by any means necessary? And one point about this is just literally over the last few weeks, the police themselves have been pointed out for being overzealous in their actions, and the police have not come out themselves that well in a lot of cases and a lot of reports. So basically, we are now giving them carte blanche to do whatever is necessary. And who is to say what is necessary to quell these protests? I really do not want to see people maimed and dying on our streets, people. But if that is being deemed necessary, who is there to judge the police? That's a question to ask yourself. And again, I'm not anti-police at all. I believe that we do need a system in place to police the individuals of this country and to keep law and order. But then there is another issue that we probably haven't looked at as well. So, for instance, why has the government, in their sage countenance, prioritized this side of law and order against all the others? So, for instance, if you are a victim of RAPE, let's call it that, murder, if you're the or someone in your fold has been victim to that, burglary, mugging, assault, etc. Why is this disorder prioritized over the individual incidents that happen to us? So, for instance, if you are a victim, you come home, your home's been burgled, you're the victim of a serious assault, a mugging, or a sexual assault, or something like that. Why is that prioritized as less important than what's going on here? You need to ask yourself that question, people. So, I've got a few sort of other questions I just want to answer as well, and to ask rather than to answer. So, I've asked the question, so why has this government prioritized protesters' punishment over that of other incidents? That is something that we need to think of. And why have the police been given more powers where they already have many questions to answer over their own questionable behaviour when dealing with the public? Really? It's something to think about, people. But it's also who is going to pay for this. So if the government are bussing in extra people to prosecute and to go through the judiciary in record time, who's going to pay for all this? Who's going to pay the cost for this, people? It's going to be you and I. Trust me on that. It's not going to be cheap. Who's going to pay for it? But also, there are other questions that need to be answered as well. So, one of the issues as well that I've been thinking about is, and I know this has happened in the past, people, is that there are areas where laws are implemented, and at some point these laws are meant to be just to be implemented in a very quick and a very short period of time, or for a very quick and short period of time. But I know, for instance, in the First World War, under the Dora Act, a lot of laws were implemented and were never taken away. So, for instance, they had laws like preventing people from whistling. They had laws about drinking alcohol. So my question to you guys, and please let me know down here in the comment section, is just to see what is your opinion of what Keir Starmer has said. So literally, they will be fast tracking anyone who's been arrested protesting at this weekend's protests. Well, let's just check out and just go into this. So one of my first questions about this, people, is why has the government prioritized people who have been arrested protesting in the face of, for instance, people who are the victims, or in the immediate circle of the victims of those who've been murdered, those who've been raped, sexually assaulted, mugged, seriously assaulted, or crimes like that? Because I'm assuming there's a lot more of those crimes that have been going on in the last few days. But if you're a victim of something so serious as that, you could face months or years trying to get justice. But what the government has said is anyone who is arrested protesting is going to face the fall of the law. It will be thrown at them. So that is just one question that hit me straight away, people. So if you get the full force of the law thrown at you for protesting, and don't get it twisted, people. So I did see on the news yesterday people who are looting and doing things like that. That's absolutely outrageous. It shouldn't be allowed at all. But should someone who is protesting and has been arrested looting or doing something else like that be prioritized and fast tracked, as opposed to someone who is on the victim of murder or serious assault? What do you think, people? And the second part about that is the government says they're going to fast track all these judges, lawyers, police, this, that, and everything else, blah, 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 court systems, people to hear to hear to hear the cases before sentencing, etc., etc. Someone has got to pay for that, people. Who do you think is going to pay for that? Let me know in the comment section. It's something to think about, people. And then there's a question of, why are the police being given more powers? Because I seem to remember, because I don't really watch the news that often, but I seem to remember over the last few weeks and months, the police have got many cases themselves to answer about things that have not been correct in the police themselves. So I think that the image of the police that has come through, and this is through the media itself, people, has not been great. So we're now given an institution that does not have a great reputation. We're giving them carte blanche to arrest anyone they deem. Anyone they deem. So this is the thing, isn't it? So who is going to protect our rights? Who will protect our rights, people? I don't know. I don't know. I wrote down a couple of other things here, so I'm going to read them out. So it's just, these are just food for thought, just questions that go into my mind. So the Labour government now is also looking at granting these extended powers to the police. What does that mean for us? So how long will these extended powers be granted for? Will they be fleeting powers, or will they now become entrenched in law? That's a question to ask yourselves, people. That's a question, because the police now could arrest anyone that they feel could be dealing in some sorts of criminality. So you could be walking down the street and the police could look at you, you're dressed in their eyes provocatively, they could arrest you. So where is our screen against things like that, people? If you give the police extended powers, then those powers really need to be monitored. That's my opinion. And then, because I've written down here, what is to stop the targeting of innocent people? So your view of innocent and their view of innocent could be two different things. And now the government as well are using the media and the press to promote this agenda. So yeah. And the last thing I wrote also, people, was around resources. So the resources thrown at this, who is going to pay for it? And why have they prioritized one thing over another? There are a lot of criminal acts going on in this country every single day. So why have they prioritized this criminality, as they call it, over all the other ones? Is it because the government is defending the status quo? And the status quo is the system, people. Because this government, and when I've said Labour a few times, don't get it twisted. The Conservatives would do exactly the same thing. There is no difference. No difference. All of them protect the status quo. And the status quo is them against us. The system comes first, people, before the people. They are for the status quo, and they're not really for the people. If you believe they're for the people, then you've got it totally twisted. Because if they really were for the people, there are so many incidences where the people have been ignored and their cases have gone on for years and years and years. So I'm just looking at this, people, and just saying, this is mob rule. But is it mob rule from the people on the streets, or is it mob rule from the people who sit and make the laws? So we have lawmakers and rule breakers. But is there really that much of a line between them? I don't know. Let me know in the comments section. All I was just saying, people, is that I just looked at it from a different perspective, and the perspective I'm looking at it from, people, is that we're in a very tenuous position here, because there are a lot of issues that have got people very much fired up. And the issues over immigration, the issues over what has happened to certain areas, certain elements of our society as well, have been in question for a very long time. So you have the lawmakers, you have the peacekeepers, and this is what you want to call the police, and then you have the people themselves. There should be an equilibrium between all three, but the balance isn't there, people. So let me know what you think in the comment section, people. How can we improve matters? Why has this kicked off? Where is it going to end? Is it going to get worse, or is this just a flash in the pan, people? And what are your thoughts on the government saying they'll give the police, by any means necessary, any rule they want to do to quell what is going on and to fast track people through the judicial system? Many of you will agree with me, many of you will disagree with me. But then you have to ask yourself the question, if you are the victim of a crime, why is your scenario any different to the scenario that we've seen here at the weekend? So the government is definitely looking to fast track through anyone who's caught on camera, caught doing anything that they deem to be illegal at these protests. But if something happened to me tomorrow, if someone assaulted me on the streets, where are my rights? Where are my civil liberties? Who is there to protect me? That is the question I'm asking you, people. That is the question I'm asking you. Anyway, I just thought I'll give my viewpoint. I don't agree with any sort of criminality whatsoever, but I also don't agree with agendas being put in place. So in some ways, these protests have fallen very nicely into the government's hands, because there are lots of little rules. When things happen, there are lots of little rules and lots of little laws that become implemented. And sometimes these laws are meant to be here for a short period of time. But once they're implemented, they don't go anywhere. They just grow and grow and grow. So people, just be aware of what's happening. Just let me know your comments down here in the comment section. And yeah, whatever you get up to, people, make sure you look after yourselves, you look after each other, you have a safe weekend, and just keep your eyes and your ears peeled, people. And anything, let me know in the comment section. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. But make sure and make certain you come back to the next Urb'n Barz reaction, guys.